York City Council is expected to formally sign off on the mayor's $107 billion budget today, just in the nick of time. Saturday was the deadline, and both sides hammered it out until the very end.
We have so much to be proud of in this adopted budget. It is on time, balanced, and fiscally responsible. It strategically directs our resources to programs that will support everyday New Yorkers.
We made significant progress toward many priorities for New Yorkers. We also acknowledge that there are unfulfilled goals that still remain for this council and the entire city. Priorities of ours remained unaddressed in this budget related to public safety.
So this was a hard-fought financial battle. In the end, there were some cuts that could not be avoided. Joining us this morning is the First Deputy Mayor, Sheena Wright, to give us a little more context on the city's new budget deal. So good morning, First Deputy Mayor. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So we heard from both sides, right? You heard from Adrienne Adams right there saying that obviously both sides had to give a little to get this under control here. But one of those big cuts that was much talked about was to the library, $36 million, which is not happening now. So where did the actual money come from that it was finally avoided?
Well, the good news is that we were able to achieve better than we expected in terms of revenue. You know, our tax receipts come in April when we file our taxes, so we were able to realize more revenue than we had anticipated. So that it enabled us to really restore some of the cuts that we had to make earlier in the year.
Yeah, well, under this new budget, $29 million, though, was cut from homeless services when the city is in the midst of a housing crisis. So can you explain what went through that whole thought process?
Well, we are investing, as you can imagine, billions of dollars in homeless services. Our homeless numbers have topped 100,000, which is the largest that it's ever been. So it is a significant investment. And we are looking at ways to trim and manage and be more efficient with some of our expenses. So the $29 million is not as a direct hit to expenses. We're actually increasing our investment in homeless services.
So funding for 3K classes, criminal justice programs, those were also slashed a bit. Now, the Speaker of the City Council was calling on the city to take a more proactive approach, right, to addressing some of these issues. I want to play a little bit of what she had to say and then get your reaction.
While the council's focus this year was to restore cuts to essential services, our city must shift away from this counterproductive budgeting approach and move forward through the lens of expanding upon what New Yorkers need, not what they can do without.
Very firm right there, right? So what is your response there? Because it almost seemed somber at times in the tone of yesterday's budget, which is usually a celebratory event.
Yeah, I think it's very tough. Listen, we had a $1.4 billion expense this year that we did not anticipate, that we did not plan for, and really the services and investments that we had to make for the asylum seeker crisis. With no resources, barely any resources coming from the federal government, we're expecting it to be $2.9 billion next year and growing. We had expected that we would receive maybe about $500 million from the federal government, and we got much less than that, so we had to take that out of our projections. So it's a very, very difficult time. As the mayor and the speaker said, there are lots of things that we would have liked to have done with those multiple billions of dollars, but we have to balance our budget at the end of the day. We can't print money, you know, we have to operate within our means, and that means making tough choices.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the highlights then of this budget. NYCHA getting some much needed investments there. So what is that going to look like exactly?
Well, NYCHA, one of the things that I'm very proud of and that we're very proud of is that NYCHA is a huge priority for this administration. It's the first time in the history of New York that has been centered in a housing plan, and it's getting resources to more quickly rehabilitate vacant apartments. But even bigger than that, this is the biggest investment in housing in the history of the city of New York. Almost $24 billion over time, and we know that we have a housing crisis, and this investment is going to go a long way. Unfortunately, we did not get a lot of help in Albany to create more housing and more affordable housing, so this investment is really strategic and really smart. And this is what I'm talking about. We had to prioritize and make decisions about where we would make investments that are going to have really significant impact for the most number of New Yorkers.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and NYCHA is one of those areas for our viewers. The city is also expanding fair fares programs. Some are youth employment, right? So briefly, because I want to get to another topic here, how many people is that going to actually impact, and how soon can they see it?
Immediately. So the Fair Fares program currently enrolls almost 300,000 people. We've expanded the eligibility, so that's a lot more New Yorkers that are going to have access to it. Our summer youth employment program employs 100,000 young people. We're expanding the slots for year-round work experiences for many of those young people. So this is really touching a lot of New Yorkers.
We wanted to ask you something. We want to switch gears right now. We wanted to get your reaction to this. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about the mayor raising some eyebrows at a community meeting when he was pressed about rent increases. Let's take a listen to what happened.
I'm the mayor of this city, and treat me with the respect I deserve to be treated. I'm speaking to you as an adult. Don't stand in front like you treated someone that's on the plantation that you own.
So the woman who was there told our Henry Rossop that the mayor is the enemy of tenants. So what is the response from City Hall about that?
Well, I was sitting right there, I think, as you can probably see in the video, and that was such a small snippet of a much larger and very productive community conversation. Obviously, the speaker was very emotional and a little bit disrespectful, and I don't think that that was the tone or the tenor of the meeting at all. And what happened afterwards is what's not on that video. There was an exchange, a continued conversation. She sat down, she continued to participate in the event and expressed her views. And what happens at those town halls is that we really want to have a productive conversation. We are a responsive administration, so to the extent that people have questions or issues or concerns, they are followed up on, and we want to have a really productive dialogue. And these issues are tough issues, and we understand that sometimes people get emotional and upset, but we want to keep it respectful.
Understood. And we're out of time here, but I do want to get you real quick. It's the last day on the job for Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell. Can you tell us what happens next? You know, is First Deputy Police Commissioner Edward Caban in line to take over starting today, and is he in line to take over permanently?
Well, one thing I want to say is that Commissioner Sewell was incredible. We absolutely adore her and appreciate her service. I mean, she leaned all the way in every single day, all day, and we wish her the absolute best. I mean, she broke barriers. You know, First Deputy Commissioner Caban is going to be interim and acting, and he's a great leader, and the NYPD is in good hands, and we will be making an announcement. The mayor will be making his decision on the next police commissioner in the coming days.
Days? Okay.
All right.
Months, days, yeah, days.
All right. First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, thanks again for coming on the show this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.